Everybody that's listening, thanks so much for listening to us. If you're listening to us on the radio, the YouTube, please subscribe, like, and share. If you're listening to us on that, if you're listening to us on one of the podcast sites, also do that. But definitely please subscribe, like, and share. We have Rachel Ventura on again. Now, this is the third time we've had you on, Rachel. First time was when you were running for Congress against one of the richest men in Congress. And obviously that was a tough race due to the pandemic and the coronavirus coming out right at the time where the primary was about to hit. So with that, and then we had you on afterwards, I believe, to talk about what happened with Bernie in general. Now you're back on and you're back in the game again, running for State Senate District 43, I believe, in Illinois. You're also a Will County board member. Again, this for everybody that's listening, this is Rachel Ventura. So Rachel, thanks so much for coming on and talking to us about your race and issues in Will County in general.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited to be here. There's so much going on. I know we started the call kind of talking about the weather, as people do, but nowadays the weather is so much more than that. It's so much more political as we see climate change is affecting us, and we need better political will to move the ball forward on that. But it's good to be here.
Last time we spoke about a nurses union that was trying to get kicked into the air. I don't want to get into that, but let's talk about your race. So you are running for State Senate 43 in Illinois. What made you want to run for this race in general?
Well, so there's a lot of issues up and down our government issues, right? Whether they're your city, your county, your state, your Congress, we're seeing a breakdown of our government officials not representing the will of the people, representing their donors. And so that's no different in our area. Now, I've been lucky to have two very strong senators over the last few years. The first retired, his name was Pat McGuire, and then John Connor took his seat. John Connor was a state rep and then Senate, and now he's running for judge. And so I've had good senators with good integrity and have fought hard for the people. So first and foremost, we want to continue that legacy, because that's not the case in everywhere in Illinois. And so that's the first part. We were all shocked that John didn't continue. He just got into the Senate 2 years ago. Like I said, he was a House rep before that. Great politician. But I understand a judgeship opens. He was a lawyer before that. And so I wish John well, but with being an open seat, I felt like this is an important step. As you know, when I ran for Congress, I ran on the platform of a Green New Deal. And right now in our state, we have what's called CEJA, the Clean Energy Jobs Act. And it is like a miniature version of the Green New Deal. It transitions us onto renewable energy. It closes down our coal plants. It moves to a carbon-free energy source here in the state, creates good paying jobs, but also has an equity portion of it to make sure that people historically who haven't been given access, a seat at the table for some of these high paying jobs, that they have a shot. But then of course also make sure anyone who loses their job in the fossil fuel industry has a shot at the renewable energy jobs. And so this is so important moving forward for our economy, for our environment, but then also to show state by state how the Green New Deal can even be rolled out. Because even if Congress passed it tomorrow, it's not the Congress who's going to do it. It's our local government. And that's what I learned so much after the CARES money, now the ARP money. I sit on county board. We are making those decisions, right? We are making the decision how this is going to get implemented, how it's going to get rolled out. The state makes those decisions. And so now I'm starting to see how important it is to show this working model at the state level long before it's passed in Congress. We legalized marijuana here, cannabis here in our state a couple of years ago. And, there's a lot of things that we've learned from hemp, CBD, the effects of medical marijuana, and then recreational use, decriminalizing that. And even though we did in our state and several other states, we still haven't done it federally. So what's going to push that federal issue? Other states doing this. So what we're starting learning is how important it is to get these issues passed at a state level. I've worked on, with unions. I've stood on picket lines, whether it's the nurses or just recently I was on the strike line with our mechanics here. And then I've also worked heavily with environmentalists. I was a naturalist years ago, and I restored our Longleaf Pine Forests working in Southeast Georgia. So the plan is very important to me. people are very important to me. And at the end of the day, whether it's the county seat I sit in now, when I ran for Congress, or now the state seat, we have to have policies that put people and planet first, and then profits later. And that's not to say we're not going to support small businesses, quite the opposite. We need to make sure that we're getting back to a business model, that when we're making money, that money is being made by family businesses, small businesses who are investing back into our community, who care about the quality of our water, our air, and our planet. And we just have to break down some of these monopolies, some of these huge, conglomerates that just all they care about is that quarterly earnings. And there's so much more that we have to be protecting here. And it's going to take politicians to set policy regulations and make sure we're implementing this, using the tax dollars that we have, that Congress have given us, to invest in the future and make sure we're making good decisions. So that's a mouthful, but at the end of the day, there's a couple key takeaways. I'm running for state senate because we have to have policies that put people and planet first. We have to have good jobs. We have to invest in our infrastructure, and we have to have people who actually are honest and compassionate and lead with integrity.
So I know you're running on environmental issues, and actually for people that are listening, this is Rachel Ventura. She is running for state senate in Illinois in Will County. So, Rachel, as we go into this, you're running on environmental issues. I know that's very important to you, especially to that area of the country where there is a lot of trucking going through that county. And that's, a big hub in our country in general, where a lot of stuff is being shipped and moved in general. Besides environmental issues, what are you looking at as far as issues or maybe bills you want to push through if you do get elected?
Yeah, I mean, so one of the biggest things I think we've seen in this country outside of COVID, but happened during COVID, was the Black Lives Matter movement. And as a county official, what I noticed is that our sheriff is elected position. And I've talked with other sheriffs and what the rates of abuse of power are in their departments, and they're so much lower than our city police forces. And so what I would like to do is to put a bill forward that would elect our chief of police. So now our police are held accountable by the taxpayers directly, not through an appointment. Usually the mayor will appoint the police chief, or maybe there's a board or some other commission. And if we were able to pass that, then the voters would have a direct or the chief of police would have a direct accountability to the voters. And I think this is going to make a big difference. When our sheriff is out there talking to people, and people call, our deputies, and they respond to calls, they are trying to fix the problem at hand, right? It is about self-service. It's not just about crime deterrent. And we've proven that officers are not a crime deterrent. They show up after the crime. Good paying jobs is a crime deterrent. Investing in education is a crime deterrent. And so what we need to do is return the police force to public servants, right? Have them working in our communities, in our schools, not as arresting kids, but at kindergarten levels, talking about officer friendly, here's where you go to help, having block parties, doing other type of services, having big brother, big sister type mentoring programs, even something as simple as internships where, kids are interning there from the high schools, right? I mean, we've gotten so far away from this, and we've created an us versus them mentality. Right. And there are really amazing police officers out there doing really good work, who do care, who sit there and talk to previous gang members and say, hey, let me get you on a path, or current gang members, but then get them on a path out of that, right? Runaways who are trying to encourage them to fix their family situations or find stable situations in order that child can be helped. It's not just what we see on the news of people getting their heads beaten, but when that happens, yes, there needs to be accountability. We need to make sure we don't have abuse of power. I think this is one step forward towards that. There's a lot of things happening across our state. People have civilian review boards, but without teeth to a bill, without subpoena power, without investigation power or final say so, a lot of those boards don't have any power. So we want to create systems that actually are going to address the issues at hand. And I think this is one way that we can do that. So that's just one example of a bill outside of some of the climate issues. Obviously, infrastructure, bringing dollars back to our area. We've got tons of roadways, we've got I-55, I-80, we've got the I&M Canal, we've got railroad bridges here. So much of our infrastructure is well, our things that we ship in this country, our logistics are based on our infrastructure here in our area. So if our stuff shuts down, everybody else shuts down too. So, that's a big part of this. The economic development in this area is huge. It can't be understated. It's just, it becomes the issue outside of, climate and making sure people stay safe.
Why do you feel like crimes went up? Well, I mean, we've heard a lot of this, defund the police. I think that that's termed wrong. And I think you explained it the correct way of what we should really want from our police in general. You explained it correctly, and I'm going to let the viewers hear that for themselves. But as far as crime grows, do you feel like, my thing is, I believe crime is up because we're in a deadly pandemic. People have crappy jobs if they have a job at all. People are homeless. People don't have health care, so they're just struggling right now. And a lot of people are going crazy because of the vaccine, the mask issues. And that's why I believe crime is up. Maybe you disagree with that reasoning.
No, I think that we're seeing our systematic breakdown of problems we've had for generations. I mean, back when Reagan was in office and things changed and pay changed, you went from a one family, one parent in the family working to a necessity of two parents working, right? So now you've got kids who aren't necessarily getting the education from their parents. They're overstressed. Maybe they're not enrolling into good education because we don't pay teachers enough money. Then you get out of even if you went to college and you made it that far, you had supportive parents, you finally get out of college, you don't have a job that you can pay for all the hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt that you have. So even if you've done all these things right, you end up in a situation of high stress, and you add to that abuse of power, the pandemic, the climate, house prices. We are perpetually living this high anxiety in high depressed lifestyles. And it gets to the point where people they're snapping, or they just say, what's the point? That system is so broken. I don't even want to be a part of it anymore. And so we have to, every one of these systems interlock with one another. And this has been going on, for a long time. So we're not going to fix it overnight, but we have to start taking the steps. To me, that first step is a living wage. I'm not talking about minimum wage. In our area, our county, we did a study. In order to have a one-bedroom house in this study in this area and not be housing burden, that means less than 36% of your income goes to your house. You'd have to make $24 an hour. Our current minimum wage is $11. So right off the bat, you have to have two people working full-time jobs just to pay for a house and not be housing burden. That's a problem. When you have a disposable income, means you pay all your bills and then there's money left over, you invest that money back into your community, into the economic, of everything. You spend money at, whether it's a bar, a restaurant, a salon, hire a lawnmower, that creates jobs. And instead, what we've been doing is I can only spend the little bit of money I have on my necessities. And when those necessities are run by monopolies like, AT&T and Comcast, those are my only two choices for internet. So I have to pick one of those two places to give my money to. Now, some things are government run, and that's good, right? I mean, my water bill, we still have public water. Not everybody can say that, though. So when your little bit of money is going to these entities that there's no competition or they have to, sure, they're surviving, but then the restaurant down the street is closing down. Now that family doesn't have a job. So of course, what are they going to do, right? They might go get another job. They might turn to crime. They might just say, screw it. And worse things happen, right? People commit suicide. They have mental health disorders. I mean, we are seeing so many of these things interplay that we have to start moving in a direction that are going to help people. And to me, quality life means I get to make the choices for my life because I have the dollars that allow me to choose freedom, right? And we don't have that right now for a lot of working families.
Rachel Ventura running for state senate in District 43 in Illinois. You do have quite a bit of name recognition. Obviously you're on the Will County Board. You've been there for quite a few years now. You did run for Congress. Obviously, we know that the pandemic kind of hurt your chances because it came right before the election. And people were scared to go out. People were scared to vote in general because we're in, and it still are, in a deadly pandemic. So with that said, running probably, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, in a crowded primary for a Democratic seat, how are you going to win this race?
Yeah, just like the other races, we're going to knock doors and engage people. We're going to be honest with them. We're going to explain these broken systems and where our solutions have to come. And we've got a volunteer team. Honestly, that campaigns are so expensive. So if you can donate, my website is electventura.com. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter. I'm on Act Blue. Please, if you can donate, even $5 a month makes a big difference. I'm not taking any special interest dollars. We're not taking corporate PAC dollars. We're not taking military dollars. I mean, this is about everyday people wanting to trust their government officials, people who are honest. I'm a single mom. I work 2 jobs. I know what it's like to have some of these everyday struggles. And I'm just as frustrated at some of our politicians and our leaders who are, placating us and not doing enough and negotiating from the middle. And we just have to stop. We see the fallout of that. And it happens by electing good people. Every little bit helps. So at this time, I have a couple of people who have said that they want to run for the seat. I don't know if anyone else, I think there was a right-wing opponent, like far right-wing opponent who has announced. A few other people are looking. It's still early. We got 9 months before we file. But like you said, I have name recognition. We knock doors. We never take that for granted. We walked 26,000 doors in my congressional race, and we've got an army of 400 volunteers because we believe that we have to have a trusted government. So if you're in the area and you like to volunteer, please hit me up. Again, electventura.com. And if you're not in the area, donating any amount of money can really go a long way.
All right, so we'll end with this question. So like I said, last time you were on, you spoke about a nurses union issue. I know there was a big issue due to the pandemic. Can you give us a quick update? And even before that, just give us kind of a quick recap of what went down.
Yeah, so they had wanted to sign their same existing contract with the hospital in the height of COVID. The hospital wanted to cut so many things, including their healthcare, some of their healthcare benefits. So they went on strike. They did end up signing a contract with some of these improvements, but I'll tell you now, the nurses are not happy with the ultimate contract, and they are trying to strengthen their strike fund right now. Their contract is for 3 years. They're with Amita Health. Amita is supposed to be a nonprofit hospital, and their goal here in our state is to break the unions. They broke them in so many other states, and that's what they want to do. So if you have a chance to support our nurses here, their INA nurses is their union, please put money in their strike funds, help them out, because while they are back working, they know they're going to have a fight in 3 more years with Amita Health. And like I said, our mechanics right now, 701 mechanics here are on strike because Chevy doesn't want to sign their agreement. Some of it has to do with health costs, but a lot of it has to do with if they can pay someone else less. They've got in their contract that they can then pay somebody else. I mean, we used to call those scabs, and they're definitely trying to break that union on that. And this is what we're talking about, living wage jobs. This is a moment, whether you're union or not union, that you should come together and organize for good jobs. All across this country, everyone is hiring, right? Go into any store, you're going to see a for hiring sign. Part of that is because, like you said earlier, we've lost 600,000 people. I mean, that's the reality that hits home, that we lost 600,000 people and we're not out of the woods yet. So yes, things are going to have to be restructured. But the other side of this is people are starting to look at their lives and say, right, I'm worth more than $11 an hour or $9 or $15 or whatever it is. When you can't pay your bills on that, you're like, no, I'm not going to go work that crappy job. And so we have to support every person who wants a living wage in this country. And I'm sorry, my dogs are barking. Whether we've unionized or not, this is a moment for people to come together and make those choices.
All right. And with that, we'll end this. Again, Rachel Ventura, she's running for state senate. Rachel Ventura, she's running for state senate district 43 in Illinois. Definitely check her out. Rachel, before we go, just give your website again.
electventura.com.
Okay, electventura.com. If you can throw her a couple of bucks, that'd be great. We need to get more progressives elected in this country in general. So, Rachel, thanks so much for your time. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Rob. You have a good one.